Mr. Transformers 96 here with another video review. This time I'm talking about a newly shown Hot Toys figure, and it is the Hot Toys Spider-Man Far From Home Mysterio Illusion Iron Man. This is really cool. Never thought we'd get a figure of this, but we do have one. So the Hot Toys showed a lot of figures all in once, and you know they released them like between 5 and 10 minutes apart, so it was really fun to be on their Facebook page and see a new Hot Toy and just be like, maybe there'll be another, maybe there'll be another, and then they show another, and you know, it's always very exciting. This was their grand finale. This is the last one that they showed, and this was by far the one that took me, you know, just kind of back off my seat. This was really incredible. So this video is going to be real mixed, because I have great things to say about the figure, and I have horrible things to say about the details for its release. So I'll get into all of it. This is going to be a portion of this video is going to be me gushing about Hot Toys, and a portion is going to be me complaining. Yeah, it'll be a roller coaster of emotions here. But nonetheless, awesome figure. I think this looks incredible. This type of design, this character, you know, if you've seen the movie, of course, it's just a blinking you'll miss it 3-second, you know, shot of this damaged zombie version of Tony Stark coming out of a grave through an illusion that Mysterio is putting on for Peter Parker to kind of give him a visual representation of what he fears and the responsibility that's been strapped upon him. So it's a very quick scene, but it's a cool one. Like, I remember being in the theater, that Mysterio scene was really big for me. I love Mysterio, so to really get that scene that was so Mysterio-like was just awesome, and this was almost a great, very close to grand finale of the scene. So the figure here, I think, is represented wonderfully. I think the detail is incredible. It's the most damaged figure that they've ever made. They've made, you know, battle damage Iron Mans before, or, you know, they've given you pieces to create a battle damage armor. This is, of course, way more than any other, though. And this is, you know, damage to the 10th degree here. This is fully unrepairable type of damage, which I think looks really cool. The face sculpt is awesome. It's obviously half actual helmet, and then you can see the skull of Tony Stark underneath it, which is awesome. And even with that type of design, you still maintain the light. And I am quite a fan of how this side is fully lit up, but this side is just black as all can be. So that's nice. I'm glad that the light up effect doesn't bleed over until the eye at all. It looks like they separated it quite nicely, because I just kind of like the dead look on one side and then the, you know, barely hanging on look on the other. I like a lot, and I'm surprised they did this, but I like that they've added these like hologram pieces over the armor's legs. I think that's very cool. It gives it the appearance that, you know, it is a hologram and that it's kind of being generated. The top portion, though, is completely clean without that stuff. Obviously not clean, but it's without the hologram pieces, so I like that quite a bit. As you can see, there's a lot hanging off of him, and he comes with a killer base. This is a cool base. It's, you know, obviously kind of an environmental piece base. You have a tombstone in the back that says Anthony Stark, you know, here lies him, and it's got smoke effect pieces, and it has hologram effect pieces. The hologram pieces look better on his legs than they do on the base. On the base, unfortunately, they didn't do translucent pieces, so they come across as a little more just, you know, toyish, which is unfortunate, but nonetheless, it's okay. It might be translucent, to be honest, but it isn't as thin translucent. It's like a thick translucent, so it has a more toyish look than the pieces on his actual thighs, which I think are better. There is a little drone on there as well, not to scale. That's very much supposed to be kind of from his perspective, like the drone's far away. It's just a really tiny little drone, and it's you know, meant to just be, you know, a little extra piece on it. It does have lights, not only the figure, but the base itself does have lights, and apparently it's pulsating lights, so it does kind of flicker and stuff, which I think is awesome. I think that's very cool indeed. This thing's just killer. I absolutely love the design, and the base is phenomenal. It's the closest thing to compare it to, I think, is Ultron Mark 1. Obviously, a very battle damage version of an Iron Man armor. The most battle damage we've had until this one, but it's you know, not as traditional looking Iron Man. That was a great figure. I think that it has a tremendous design. It, you know, has limited articulation, which I think will be the same with this one. I think this one will have, you know, decent articulation, more than the Ultron, but I do think that it will be limited, more so at least than your average Iron Man figure. So that's the great stuff about it. What he comes with, not a ton, just because he shouldn't have a bunch of accessories. You get the figure, you get the kick-ass base, and then you get the set of hands, including articulated fingers and then the repulsor blast hands. No fists, which who would want to put fist on this? That would just be boring. You want some creepy zombies type of posed hands, so no issues there. So he's very light on accessories, but of course, this is a character that had no accessories, so I have no issues with that. The only accessory thing that I'll kind of say is that with all of their other releases when they showed this, every single other one had some sort of exclusive item with it. This is the only one that didn't. So it would have been cool if there was an exclusive item, and what that item could be that I'd love is a Mysterio dome that's like a snow globe where it's New York City and then Spider-Man's inside trapped. That would have been an awesome, cool accessory to give him as an exclusive. And I would probably pose my Mysterio figure once it came with the unhelmeted look with him holding that snow globe. I think that would have been awesome. But nonetheless, what are you gonna do? It's not a big deal. So great figure. There's all the good stuff. The bad stuff is its details in regards to pre-order, because this thing went on pre-order yesterday, and I am extremely disappointed with the details. So let's start off with that release date, April to June of 2022. This thing is 2 years out, which I find very disappointing. It's definitely a shame that Hot Toys takes so long to release figures, and this isn't what it used to be. This was not the norm a couple of years ago. It used to be Hot Toys' release time frame was about a year out, and that still felt like a long time at the time, of course. But now with them doubling that, it's very much a shame. Really, all figures from Hot Toys nowadays have an estimated release date of 1.5 to 2 years away, which is just really crazy. I wish that they could get their stuff together. I mean, even if it requires hiring more people, I think that would be well worth it. Then the price is the next huge issue. With this item at $420, I think that it's quite outrageous, the price, to be quite honest. It's nuts. That was much more than I was expecting. I was really thinking that this would be about $300, maybe a little less. Like, I could see it. In my opinion, what I thought it was worth, what I thought would be a good price for it, was about $275. And what I expected, just because Hot Toys is kind of overpricing things since the last couple of years, I expected about $300 to $325. So for it to be $100 more than my highest estimate was shocking. This has not happened very much. I mean, Igor was another Hot Toys figure that the price tag for it was so much more than I was anticipating, what really everybody was anticipating, that it was like shocking. This is another situation where it's absolutely shocking. And don't get me wrong, the figure's great. There's a lot of detail with it, and he comes with a nice base. He doesn't really come with much else, but nonetheless, I think that what you get is awesome. But the price just doesn't make sense when you compare it to other figures. First of all, a regular Iron Man figure, one from Infinity War here. It's the Mark 50. This is a figure that actually has accessories. He comes with quite a bit, and he comes with a head sculpt, a Tony Stark head sculpt. Don't forget that this figure does not have a head sculpt. Obviously, the half of a skull is sculpted nicely, but there is no human sculpt, there's no human likeness here. None of that, which also, just so you're aware, it means that they don't have to pay a licensing fee for using an actor's likeness either. They still have to pay the royalty for being able to produce a figure, from a different company. They have to pay that license, but they don't actually have to pay the actor. So that makes it cheaper for them, and it just means that they don't have to sculpt a human head sculpt. It's much easier. That's one of the most time-consuming and costly pieces of a Hot Toys figure, in my opinion, from at least what I'd expect. So none of that, and as you can see, it's more expensive than this one, and don't forget that there's a huge quality difference as far as material. This is a plastic figure. This is not a die-cast figure. It's just a regular movie masterpiece series. All the more recent Iron Man figures, from basically since Iron Man 3 and on, have been die-cast. This is a die-cast figure, and the die-cast one is cheaper than this plastic one. Again, detail is great, but the the quality of figure, as far as the materials that it's made of, are far inferior, and they didn't have to sculpt a human head sculpt. Plus, it just comes with less stuff. Again, I think that this is outrageously overpriced. I have no idea why it's the same price as a die-cast figure, even though it has no die-cast. The markup for die-cast was huge. You know, they used to make the Iron Man figures for about $220, sometimes like $230, $240 at the most towards the end there when they were doing plastic ones. And then the jump to a die-cast one was like $330, like it was almost $100 jump. So taking out the die-cast factor and without a head sculpt, I assume that this would be priced more accordingly to what a plastic Iron Man figure would be worth now, but you got to take into account the more intricate detail. So that's why I thought $325. So for this to be $420, I think it's absolutely an absurd price. I don't think that it's really worth that, to be honest, at all. I think this figure would be worth it at $325, although a bit pushing it at that range, but still worth it. So $420, I think, is outrageous. I was all for this figure. I was super excited to get it. This was, one of the kind of instant pre-orders in my mind. So with this price range, with it being just ridiculous, I don't know if I'm going to get this. I don't think I am, to be honest. I certainly will not be pre-ordering it anytime soon. If I do find that I just need it bad enough that I'm willing to pay the overprice amount for this figure, if that happens, it'll be very close to 2022. It'll probably be within 2022. I don't see myself pre-ordering this for years if I do. But again, at that price, I don't really see it being worth it. I think that it's one that I'm going to have to pass on, even though I don't really want to. It's just the price is outrageous. So overall, quite disappointed with the release date and the price of this figure. I think both of which are they're not just bad, they're not just overpriced or overdated, they're just at a ridiculous level. So that's very disappointing, considering this figure was so cool, and just such a shame because it was so amazing when it first was shown. When I first saw it, I was like, oh my god, I couldn't believe it. So for it to just be taken to a point where I'm like, well, I don't think I'm going to get it now, is just shocking to me. If you told me that when this was shown that night, I wouldn't have believed you. So, but I would have believed that maybe the price would be insane, just because Hot Toys has been going up and up and up to kind of a ridiculous level at this point, especially with an item like this at this price point. Again, great detail, and just another quick comparison here, $250 for a figure that's very similar to his style, where it's a plastic armor, and it's heavily damaged. There's a lot of damage detail there. So this is a very similar product. Again, I do 100% know that this Mysterio version, I think, is detailed to a better place. It's more extreme detail than this, so of course I wouldn't expect it to be $250. But again, it shouldn't be almost $200 more than this figure. I think that's just nuts. But there you go. That's my thoughts on this new Mysterio's Iron Man Illusion figure. Let me know what you guys think of the figure himself, and then let me know what you think of the price as well. And also let me know if it's still worth it to you. How many people are still going to order it even with this price, and how many people would have ordered it, like me in my boat, but don't think that they will anymore because it's just gone to a place where it's not worth it. So let me know what you guys think, and thanks so much for watching.